Alright, so here's finally your queen guide. So there was a lot of questions last time about the YouTube video from Earphone iDot. The flashy thumbnail that you saw is from an A2 queen, which is significantly different from an A0 queen. So it is a little bit misleading that it is in the same video, you know, marketed as a free-to-play guide. It's not. An A2 queen is actually quite expensive, but it is quite powerful. You can pretty much follow along. The only difference is basically Soy and Leon. And why is the difference Soy and Leon? Well, this Yasufusa boss has the highest resistance in the game. And in the single target boss, the more resistance a boss has, essentially, all you have to know is the better resistance down sources are. Resistance down sources, there's two of them. There's Pierce and there's defense down. And Soy gives us that. So we really want Soy. It adds a lot of damage to our queen, at especially A0. The reason why we're using Leon though for queen at above A2 is because A2 queen gives her 6 pierce per elemental ailment, and at once the boss can be applied with 5 elemental ailments, giving queen 30% pierce, which is quite a lot, a significant amount that basically makes Soy's defense down then essentially not useful anymore, because when resistance in this game is reduced down to 0, then more resistance reduction doesn't actually do anything. So right here I have a A0 queen without her weapon even, so I'm using Soy with her. However, with this rotation you can follow along with a Leon. It will be just more difficult to survive, not impossible. And if you do, you can follow along with Earphone's video, which I'll link again, because the rotation is I think more so designed around A2 and designed for you if you can't survive with A2. It's not optimal because it uses Norn, and Norn is not the persona you really want to be using, but it helps you survive. So if it works, it works. Vino is using the Truth and Harmony set right now. This should be Power and Harmony, but I don't have that set right now. But if you have Leon on your team, you can give Power and Harmony to Leon, and Vino can still run this set. Soy is very important. You do need the Departure and Control set, if not for the defense down, for the extra damage. Lastly, this rotation does not need a Prosperity set. So on my Navi, I'm using the Power and Trust set, giving a bit more damage. In the video you saw him use Arc Knife. Arc Knife is optimal if you are applying a status ailment and reducing the defense, so that's why he was using Garudine on Norn. The problem with that is, I think you already have enough resistance down to where this doesn't matter, and you're sacrificing a lot of attack. Arc Knife at no refinement only gives 28% attack, whereas the Sennight Inferno gives you 56% attack, which is a lot more, making your attack buffs stronger. Namely this skill, the Cohesion. And especially for me, because I don't have Rebellion on my Dominion, your opponent's personas are as follows. You have Koumokuten, Dominion, and Janosik. In the video, you saw Koumokuten being replaced by Norn, which is helpful if you need the sustain. Seems like some people still are not quite sure about some of these, especially this effect that the guild bosses get. Affiliate states, allies are unable to deal critical hits, but deal increased final damage from skills and resonances. This increase is equal to critical hit rate times critical hit damage minus 100%. Max crit hit rate in this calculation is 100%. Now this might seem like a lot of maths that maybe you don't understand. That's okay. Basically what the saying is, there is no RNG whether or not your hit will crit or not. Instead, damage is calculated by this formula. All you need to know is when you're building your characters, you don't actually need to aim for 100% crit rate. In fact, crit rate and crit damage are essentially more closer to equal in this equation. It makes it so you don't have to roll the RNG on whether or not a crit hit is going to crit or not. Over here in brackets, what this means is that however, there is still a limit to crit rate at 100%. So if you were to have crit rate over 100%, it won't count towards this damage. And that is the reason why my queen over here has 200% crit mold and only 15 or 14.7% crit rate, and that's okay. Only because I don't have a very good card on her, but I'm not losing too much from this. With the 4-star weapon max, so I don't have the 5-star, nor do I have the A1, which I am losing quite a bit of damage from. Particularly here, this 4-star weapon may or may not be better than the 5-star, depending on how RNG you want to go. I don't really recommend anyone getting the 5-star weapon unless you're super rich in currency, because you're going to stop using her, and because of that the 4-star is generally enough. And if you're willing to grind for the RNG, this phone gives you a higher chance to get the beat stack. If that does happen, your damage is potentially better. However, I have to say, if you cannot hit Okyann's attack cap, I don't remember what exactly it is. I think it's 4,500 at max skill level. If you cannot hit that, I've upgraded her skills basically for no reason. So if the 5-star phone does help you hit the cap, then the 5-star phone is going to be better than this percent chance of getting a beat stack. And I guess I'll go over Vino's 4-star versus 5-star. Vino's 4-star is actually really strong, but so is her 5-star. And her 5-star is one of the more valuable 5-stars in the game, I would say, along with Leo and Shun. I'd probably suggest you get those two first, mainly because Vino's 4-star is so powerful. However, Vino's 5-star is even more powerful. At max dupe, Vino's 4-star does apply more defense shred just on its own. However, because the 5-star gives you element accuracy, which is desperately needed on Vino, it will increase her A1's defense down by a lot as well, meaning the stats even out, making the 5-star win out. Also be easier for Vino to build around because of that 30% element accuracy. That's why taking Vino to 80 is also very important, because you get that element stat boost from training her. Your Okyann, actually, I have level 70, but you can make her work at level 70, even though I have it at 80. Okyann, also, again, reason being just because she will be replaced. Not that you should completely ignore her, you should still get some good cards, you should still level her to at least 70 and weapon to at least 70, and also get her skills maybe to 10, especially if you're not planning to pull for Phoebe, if you're really saving for Cord, which is also not a bad option. I think my account is going to do that too, because Phoebe without the A1 is not that particularly much stronger. I think I don't have the disposable income to get that A1. The team order should look something like this. The team order is not very important. However, if you do have Dominion, I do suggest your team order to look like this. This is your best case. Even without Dominion, this order is your best order. So this DOD rotation is unique in the way that this boss has basically 2 health bars, or 1 health bar and 1 down turn. This health bar is always worth 400,000 score, and it will never change. So our goal isn't really to kill the fox very quickly. The goal is to set up for the 2 turns where the fox is vulnerable, and that's when you will do the most damage. So here, depending on whether or not you need the damage, you can either S2 or S3, or if you need the survivability. When S2 here, a revolution. After that, you can S1. And then here, you're going to S2. If you again need more damage, you can S3 here. Okay, so now he does S1. Then we gun. And so you get that debuff on the boss, and then we can exit out. Which is Dominion Tarakaja. And we have highlight here. I'm gonna S3 first. Then on Soy, I'm gonna highlight the one that's weak. And switch back to Makoto. Do the follow up. Yep, I'm going to S1. Everyone dies. Doesn't matter, I think, too much if you can't kill everyone. Unless you're going to the burn break. I am going to go for the burn break. I'll show you what that is in a minute, but you really don't have to get a good score, but it is helpful to maximize your score. There's ice defense, so you can be topped off. Okay, we're back to Revolution. S3. one more S1. Yeah, even if the minions are still alive, you would S1 there and it'd be fine. Okay, now I'm gonna smash hits. We have highlight, but we can ignore it. Dominion Tarokaja, or it should be Rebellion. Swan here. And on this turn specifically, make sure boss is at around 30,000 HP. This is perfect. That way, we can go Queen S2. If you're struggling with this, you're really struggling with it, you don't know how to control your damage, you can just S3 and the boss will just die, and then you can follow along exactly what I do. But I'm gonna S2. This is the most optimal way to do this. Boss attacks Soy, that's even better. And boss dies the burn. We're gonna use Okyann, we're gonna use S1. And then if you want to farm for even more luck, you were supposed to get Pulse there. Unfortunately, we didn't get Pulse. Now you don't have the debuff with the gun anymore, so you're gonna gun. Shoot everything out. Did I just get the debuff on the last one and nothing else? That's fucking crazy. Vino highlight. Was that a bit late? You were supposed to highlight last turn actually. I messed up. Fine. Okay, nice, we got rhythm. And then here, Janosik, you do Rakunda. And S3. Basically with Vino, you're mostly alternating S1 and S3. And that's a lot of damage from Vino. And crash out finally. S3. Okay, and then we have Showtime, and then now we can S2, 3. And talk. Right, lastly, S2 here. This S2 is one without the Desperado, obviously. If we were to roll the RNG, we would have S2 last turn if the Fox does the fire attack on the Sawyer, but that's a 1 in 4. So, but you can switch the last gun turn and the last S2 turn if you really want to maximize the damage, which I'm probably going to go back and do. But just for this showcase, it's a 1 in 4 chance. It's kind of low, even though Soy has more of a taunt, so it's actually not improbable that he gets hit there. But that's a lot of RNG, because then you have to get the pulse RNG as well. Now you do Dominion Coercion onto target Queen. This time targeting Queen is actually important on the Coercion skill. S1. And now we have highlight. Queen highlight. So actually I did highlight Vino on the correct turn. Alright, so we got the rhythm after though. This can definitely be improved, this score, but I think it's already better than my best. Nice, that's 31 million. It can still be improved as well, but as you can see, this side is pretty quick and pretty simple, not as grueling as the cert side.